Hello everyone, welcome back to the final official episode of this course on creating your own info screen in React. For this episode, we are going to show you how to publish your website on the internet so that you can reach it from any device in the browser, or from your phone for that matter. First, before we do that, let's make sure that we have some content on the page, even if all our APIs fail, because no matter how clean our code is, if we're using external APIs, we're still relying on someone else to deliver some sort of data. So what I usually do for this project when I run this course is I simply write some headlines into our two functions. So we have this function for bikes, where we do this mapping through all the objects, as I showed earlier. Let's write a header, a small header here. And I'm going to use an H2, which means like the second largest heading on a page. I'm just going to call it city bikes, because that's what it is. It represents the city bikes in Trondheim. And then let's do the same thing in dad jokes. And we're going to go in here, go to the return value, and above these two where we have the jokes, I'm going to write heading 2. I'm going to write dad joke. And that's it. That's really what I wanted to do. We can check it out, make sure it works. And here we have some headlines. That just makes a little bit clearer. Obviously, if you want to adapt this to say anything you'd like, you can do that. Oh, and I can notice that just recently the top dad joke of the day changed. That's interesting. Okay, let's head into what we're actually doing for this episode. So, GitHub is the tool that we're using to host our code and see our code and that sort of stuff. But they also have functions to be able to host our websites, as long as they're fairly simple websites, and this site that we're working on here is. So what we want to do is leverage this tool, and to make use of this thing, which they call GitHub Pages, we need to install a little bit of another library like the ones we've used earlier. So we go back into the terminal. We have to shut down our web server by pressing Control C, and then we have to use npm install again to install a new package. And the package that we're installing this time is called, let me just find the name, here we go, gh-pages for GitHub Pages. And press enter, and then that thing works just fine. While this thing installs, I figured I'd just show you something in GitHub. This is my GitHub repository page for the project. As you can see, it's under my username and then the name of my project. If you have closed the tab and you're on the front page of GitHub, you usually find it on the left side here in repositories you worked on, or you can search for the name here, or you can go up to the right side of the screen and hit your profile or your repositories, and then you'll come to this page here, which has all of your projects sorted in the order that you last visited them, or interacted with them, I think. And then you're back at this page. By now, we should be done over here. Yes, we are. And we can restart the program just like we did before with npm start. And then our web server should be running again. And here we go. And that works just fine. I'm just going to refresh to make sure it's fine. And it is. You might notice that I had the page for GitHub Pages up on in the tab here. I forgot to show you, but almost all these npm packages are available in this website called npmjs.com, and you can search for them here, or you can just search on Google, and usually this page will show up. And this has some relevant links to documentation and some simple basic documentation. But we're going to do this ourselves today. So at this point, we have the tools we need to publish this page on GitHub, but we need to set up some settings. And the settings of the project we've talked about before exist in this package.json file. So in here, you might notice that we have a new dependency in the form of this gh pages thing. So that install went perfectly fine. And then we need a few more things to set up, make sure they work. One thing we need is a new attribute here called homepage. it doesn't matter where you put it, but I like to put it just below the name because it sort of represents the name of this project. And this here, the URL is very important. It has to be correct. So what you need is https ://, just like you would on most websites. And then you have your GitHub username. In my case, it's Aslak Hol. Then you write .github.io, and then you write /, and after the / you want your project name, so info screen in this case, and then you can save that. There should be no / at the end, so no trailing /, just like this. And obviously you have to use your GitHub username and your GitHub project name, and these two names also have to match, so they have to be correct. This is a common mistake that I see people. The reason I talk about this so much is that people often make some sort of typo here and then can't understand why the next part won't work, and that's simply because the error messages are pretty bad from this GitHub Pages tool. So make sure that you have this correct before you move on. And then the next thing that we need to add here is we need to take a look at this scripts section. So we haven't talked about this before, so let's do that right now. So you see here there's a script called start, and that is the script that runs every time we write the command npm start. So basically npm has the ability to trigger some scripts through through those things, and these are the ones that you can trigger. So we need to make 2 new scripts here, and we do that by writing 2 more attributes in. We're gonna have one that's called pre-deploy, and the command there will be npm. Oh, we need to do this in a string. npm run build. And then we need another one called deploy, and this is the one that we're actually going to be triggering ourselves. We want that to be GH pages -d build. There we go. And these are the commands that we're going to use when we do this thing. So the second thing, the next thing that we need to take care of is making sure GitHub is prepped to receive our files. So if you go back into our project page, we remember seeing this is pretty much the exact same state that everything was in when we published it. We can see here that everything says initial code, which, if you remember, is the commit message we had on our first thing we pushed up. And then if we go into source, where we usually would find our stuff, we can't find our dad joke and our bikes components, and that's simply because we haven't updated our code. You can even see that the timestamp here is yesterday, because I started recording this yesterday. So let's do that. This will be a repeat of something we did a bit earlier, but it's something complicated. So let's do it. So again, we have to stop our web server. And then we want to write git status, and we can see that, oh yes, we've added a bunch new files, and there's a few files that have been added by some generation stuff, cache and package lock. Don't worry about those, they're auto-generated. We want to keep those as well. And the other ones are files we've all changed. So this is our settings file, this is the main app file that we've been looking at a lot, this is the bikes file we made, and this is the dad jokes file we made. So we want to add all of those files. We do that by writing git add and then a full stop or period. And we can write git status again. And then we see here that we've added all these files. And then, like last time, we want to commit this file, telling Git that we want this to join us further in our work. And we're just going to write completed version 1 of info screen. This text doesn't matter, but it's a common practice to write some text that explains what you've done in this, so that it's easier to track when you look back on your work. We press enter, and that's committed. And then we need to push it up to GitHub, and we write Git Push to do that, and press enter. And now it's being pushed out online. And there it's done. So let's go back to the GitHub page. And if we refresh this page now with the source, we will see that 2 new files showed up, bikes and dad jokes, and these 3 files that were all affected by our new commit has this new commit message that shows us what commit last touched them. The details of all that isn't that important, but now we have the code on GitHub, and we can move on to the next part of this task, and that is triggering the commits. Now, triggering the deploy, and then we use this command that we created by writing. Let's actually remove this text down here so it's clearer. By writing npm run deploy, and this is the command that you need to do to deploy this thing. You just push the thing, and it'll take a couple of minutes trying to do this, and then I'll come back to you when this thing is up and running. Okay, it seems like the file is done running. Even though this is published, it might take a little bit more time before it's actually online, but it could also be done right now, so let's check it out. First of all, we need to pick up this link here that we've already written down, the home pages link. That's going to be the URL to your new website. We go into our browser, open a new tab, and paste in that URL, and we can press enter, and then we can see it live here. And this is not running locally on our machine. Remember, we've turned off our web server, so it's not running. This is running on GitHub Pages, and you can access this from any mobile device or your laptop or any other thing, and it should run just fine. So this is the end of the regular part of the course. I might make some extra bonus videos at some point. Hopefully it's been educational. This could be a little bit complicated if you've never touched React, but just watch the videos a few times and try and follow along on the steps. And then hopefully it was interesting. One of the hopes that I have with this program is that you'll see that these APIs are pretty simple to use and that you can make something that fits your purpose. And I've shown you 2 APIs now, but the intention is mostly to show you 2 different kinds of APIs. The Reddit API was a traditional RESTful API where we send a request to a server with a URL and then you get a response back. And then the second one, the City Bikes thing, we made with an SDK or software development kit, which is a tool that another developer has prepared for you to be easier use their APIs. And these sorts of APIs exist everywhere around in the world, and they contain a lot of interesting different information. So I would recommend just searching around on Google, trying to find cool APIs, and imagining what sort of stuff would you want to have on an info screen that you want. And then obviously you could also use something like now you can also use CSS to make your info screen look a little bit nicer. As a last treat, I'm gonna show off the info screen that I have running at my apartment, which I have just stuck to a wall with an old tablet, and it's obviously in a tablet format, so it looks kind of like this. And this is the thing that I've done. So now you can see that I have cleaned it up a little bit and added some cool colors with CSS. I've made some time using not actually an API but an internal time package called Luxon. I've also got the bus times near my house, and then I've got the bikes that we saw, and I've got some weather information from the Norwegian weather forecasting service, which is very good. And then I obviously have the dad joke at the bottom here, which I think is critical. So that's it for this episode. Hopefully this was interesting and it was possible to follow along. And then go ahead and use the comments eagerly if you have any questions, and I'll try and notice when there are new comments. Thank you very much.